everyone. We're back, and today we're talking about rental cars or renting a car in Ecuador, and whether you should and if you decide to, some of the things you will have to be aware of if you do. Just so you know, if you do come to Ecuador, we live in Salinas. In Salinas, there is no ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft. The same goes for Manta, unless things have changed in the last couple months. There was no ride-sharing service there. It is widely available in places like Guayaquil and Cuenca and probably Quito. But as far as here, it's not. And I believe most of the cities on the coast is not. So keep that in mind if you come here. Taxi is usually the way to go. So to rent a car first, you have to be 25 years old. Sounds pretty normal, right? Preferred, you may want to get a 4x4 if you can. You can locate one. Depending on where you're going to be driving in the country, you may just want a 4x4. There's different road conditions all over the country. So just to be safe, you may want a 4x4. You will need a credit card, of course. Even though Ecuador is a primarily cash country, there are a lot of things that do require a credit card, and renting a car is one of them. You need a valid driver's license, of course. Your home country driver's license will usually suffice. There is no collision damage waiver. And I don't know, Deshaun, would you like to go into what the collision damage waiver is?
Well, collision damage waiver is usually an option in the U.S. and in other countries like Europe. If you decide if something happened, they would cover it, but you don't necessarily have to opt in for it. But here in Ecuador, there is no collision damage waiver.
It's not an option. Make sure you understand all the details in the contract and your responsibilities. Because here in Ecuador, it's a little different. You will be held responsible for many of the things that happen.
Yes, and understand that that contract may be in Spanish. So
it will definitely be in Spanish.
You more than likely need to take a translator if you don't speak Spanish or understand Spanish.
Daily rental rate between $15 and $25. And there's a tax involved with that. What was that tax?
Yeah, there's a 12% tax that would not be included in that rate. And also there is an 8% tax that is, let me see where I saw, is a fee that companies charge when you're at the airport, and that's usually only at the airport.
Depending on the car insurance purchase, you may be responsible for $1,000 to $200,000 in repair costs.
Not 200,000, sweetie, 2,000.
Did I say 200,000?
Yes.
My apologies. It's not that much. It's not a Bentley. I'm sorry. Yeah, you may be responsible for $1,000 to $2,000 in repair costs. So keep that in mind if you have an accident, and remember that the driving here is not what you're used to. Depending on which country you're coming from, you could very easily get into a fender bender.
Yes. Any cost that's over what you used for the rental will be refunded to you, and they can usually take up to 3 to 4 weeks. But don't be expecting it to be returned to you once you go back to wherever you're coming from, whether it's Canada or US. It's going to take a few weeks with any credit cards being credited back to your card.
So keep in mind, if you happen to have an accident, the other party may be reluctant to provide you with their info. It's very common here. And possibly leave the scene of the accident. This is also very common, especially if it was their fault. They may suggest to have the vehicle repaired by a local shop rather than getting the authorities involved.
Yes.
Because here, when the police arrive, typically, and I can speak for here in Santa Elena province, typically if they don't know exactly who's at fault, they assume everyone's at fault.
Yes.
Until they figure it out later. You may spend a day in jail, you never know. So
be prepared.
Be prepared for that. And you don't want to necessarily have to deal with the police anyway, especially if you don't speak fluent Spanish and the other person does. So the obligatory insurance for transportation accident is required. That's SOAT for short. Is required and is included in the rental fee, but does not cover vehicle damage. Keep that in mind. So some things to remember about vehicles here in Ecuador, almost all of them are manual transmission. Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah.
Manual. Yeah. Almost all of them are manual transmission.
It's very rare you're going to find an automatic.
Yeah. If you can't drive a stick, you're going to have a harder time finding a vehicle to rent. Much harder. I'm not saying there aren't any automatic vehicles, but the fact that there's barely any places to rent a car, number one.
Especially here in
Yeah, I really haven't seen. I've seen one that was closed.
Closed?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've never seen a vehicle there. So it's already hard enough to find a rental. It's even harder to find one that's automatic. Gas is either extra or super is usually what's going to be required. Keep that in mind. It's not cheap.
And also keep in mind when you're renting a car to make sure there's a car jack and a spare tire in the trunk area, and that is in good condition, because you don't want to get stranded along the road and not have a car jack or a spare tire.
If you decide not to rent a car, which personally we wouldn't suggest it. So yeah, tour buses. Tour buses can be a good alternative. They're really inexpensive. You just want to make sure you get with a good tour company. We don't have one particularly to suggest. You just have to look around, do some research.
You can look on International Living.
Yeah.
They would probably be a good resource.
Yeah. Look for the ones that have good reviews. Try to, if you can, especially if you can't find a source that's in English, if you know someone that speaks Spanish, help you out. Google Translate doesn't always translate things correctly. Find out if that tour line makes periodic stops, like just picking up random people on the side of the road, or if they're the ones that kind of go direct and they have set stops. It's the only time that they stop. Because what happens is sometimes robbers get on the bus and rob the people on the bus, because the bus will just pick up random people on the side of the road on the way to your destination. So yeah, do your research. We've taken the bus, it was fine. Also, if you're scared of riding the bus through the mountains, you may not want to do that option, but
yeah.
There's a lot of mountains in Ecuador. And the distances. Looking on the map, you may see that a distance is only 37 miles. You know, you take where we live in Salinas to Montanita and Olon, it's like 37, 40 miles, something like that. It's an hour and a half ride.
And we cannot explain to you why that is.
Well, we can, because there is no dedicated, just straight highway all the way there. You're going through like little towns, and you're going to speed bumps, and it's not.
It's not like a straight highway.
Right. Look at it on the map, and you say, "Oh, well, that should be a straight shot." You know, it says an hour and a half, but then you look at it, it's only like 40 miles. It's like, how's that an hour and a half? Well, when you take the ride, you'll see why it's an hour and a half. So just remember that distances don't mean the same thing as they do in other places. The distance from, maybe Manta to Quito may look like something you've driven 100 times in the US or in Canada, and it's like it takes twice as long here. Just because of the way that the roads are and the way that the highways are, it's usually not a direct path. So definitely keep that in mind.
And you can hire a driver. Like they have different drivers that do tours, and they will stop within those provinces or cities, so you can, get to see or explore.
And they usually ask if you want to stop, or if you just want to keep going, if you use the restroom. So yeah, hiring a driver, look online, look on Facebook. There's plenty of them. There's plenty of drivers to go around, and just like we said, just do a little research and get the best fit for you. But as far as renting a car, like we said, we wouldn't necessarily suggest it. But if you really needed it, you can. Just remember that you will probably want to rent a car in a bigger city and then bring it to wherever you're going, because you can't find a rental car really here in Salinas. You would most likely have to rent it in Guayaquil and bring it to Salinas.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
And also keep in mind that, you know, the buses here run for about 35 cents.
Yeah.
But you need to be fluent in Spanish and know where you're going.
And they barely stop. They barely stop to let you on or off.
I mean, you put your head up, they will pull up,
Yes.
but you better be ready to grab hold to jump on.
It's like a California road. It's like
some of them are not a California road. Some of those you be running and to jump on, but you know, some of them do stop. We're not saying all of them. Some of them do stop.
Yeah.
But it's like 35 cents to ride the bus, and like we said in our previous videos, taxis can run from anywhere from $1.50 to $4, depending on where you're going.
I don't think we ever paid more than what, $5 to $6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was going into another.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was a decent ride.
Yeah.
A decent ride. So that's really it. That's all we have to really say about renting a vehicle.
Yeah, just do your research, and if you want to put a $1,000 on your credit card to hold and rent a vehicle, just understand that's a requirement. And is it worth it? Because not only are you, it could be $15 to $25 a day, but to put that amount on your credit card to hold, and hopefully it's going to take a few weeks to get back,
and hopefully you don't have an accident. And hopefully someone doesn't hit you leaving the airport in Guayaquil.
So let me just put that Steve said in previous, what you said, laws or suggestions.
Yeah, the traffic laws are a suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah, so just be careful driving. If you do decide to get a vehicle here, be careful driving. If you hopefully that helps, and if you decide to rent a vehicle, good luck. Best of luck to you. So thanks for watching. We enjoy doing these videos. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
That was my line. Like, share, and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.